All right. We are live. Welcome back to Reason Answers.
It's as good as waging war against Allah and His Messenger.
Today we're going to be watching some Dawah videos. As the title suggests, we're going to try to find the best Dawah videos in the entire world and watch those, because I'm sure that if we do, right, we've tried this before where we looked at videos and we couldn't find any good arguments for Islam. But I'm sure if we look at the best possible videos, then we will definitely find some good arguments for Islam. So I did see a comment about the start time and being more reasonable, at least for those in Europe. And as Mary said, it is a national holiday in the United States. Now, that doesn't mean that every single person is off work by any means, but it does mean that I am off work. So we're having this stream at an earlier hour. I was going to say a couple days, but it's probably more like about a week ago. I posted on my channel, on the community, for Muslims to give me their best Dawah videos. I'm going to pull up that post now and let's see if they have come up with anything. If not, right? If not, I'm not going to just end the stream, but let's give them the chance first. And then I have some videos that are backups in case they don't join us. So give me your best Dawah videos. Let me share my screen here. All right, so go to my community posts, find the post here, give me your best Dawah videos, sort by newest in case there's something hidden. So it looks like we do actually have an answer. So lots of people lots of regulars commenting on it, and then someone making fun of a typo in it who says they're not a Muslim. Whatever, either way, they're just making fun of a typo. Faisal complaining that I haven't replied to his email. Then we got Annie here. I'm from a Muslim majority country, and just to clarify, the most Dawah sounding Dawah is what we have now, with the top stars like hijab and Ali. In my country, the Dawah doesn't even sound like Islam. It's like a peaceful book created by the imams and ustads and had nothing to do with Islam anymore. This land has been corrupted for decades now. No saving it. We debunk the top stars. We debunk the entirety of its existence. So I guess that one is, they said they're from a Muslim majority country. I hadn't read it. It appears they are not a Muslim, but we do have this one from Joe Baz here. Open the dark side if you're open towards the sacred text. So let's go ahead and give that a try.
We gather together to pray.
Let's make sure that this is actually an Islamic video here. Okay, so apparently, okay, first of all, it's an hour and 13 minutes. I'm not going to watch an hour and 13 minutes live. Second of all, according to the description, dark anti-ethical lessons from the Bible. In part one, we talked about violence in the Bible, adultery in the Bible, and women's lack of rights in the Bible. Part two, we talked about bad role models in the Bible, polytheism, idolatry, and how the church scammed everyone out of their money. And in part three, we talked about the insulting description of God in the Bible. Now, I don't hear any argument for Islam here. All I see is some claims that the Bible is yucky. That looks like there's 4 minutes for Bible's dark side, which is probably just an introduction. And then violence in the Bible is like 31 minutes, adultery, 14 minutes. However, so this is an evidence for Islam. Like, even if for the sake of argument, no, not sharing my screen. Wow. I always forget that I have to share and add it. So I share it, right? And then I forget I also have to add it to the stream for you guys to be able to see it. So anyway, this is the video that someone recommended. It has a whopping 227 views after 6 days. And it's all about how the Bible is wrong. Now, even if for the sake of argument, he makes a valid point, that would not make Islam true. There are thousands of religions in the world, and I would really like to get some evidence that Islam is truth. However, in their description, they do have a playlist, Evidence of Islam. So let's click over on that instead here. And again, all these videos are pretty darn long. If I watched one of these, it would be the only thing we would have time to watch. Let's just go with the first one, though. The Prophet's Time Machine, Mind-Blowing Prophecies of Prophet Muhammad.
No.
And let's see if there's some timestamps here. Yes, some timestamps. 3 minutes of introduction, presumably journey to the far future, journey to the near future, journey to the past, journey to the hereafter, a message to non-Muslims, a message to Muslims, convey from me, even if it is one verse. So it looks like we got about 16 minutes, a little less than 16 minutes for the section journey to the far future. That seems to be the most promising there. And so, I did forget to mention, I don't know why this reminded me about Andrew's time machine, which for some reason reminded me that I forgot to mention we do have several new donation things that will potentially be played. It'll still be random, so they may or may not be played today if there's a donation, but we do have several new ones there. So I think this is it, right? Journey to the far future. If Muhammad could predict the far future, I think that's pretty good evidence for Islam. And it's going to be a little bit hard for me to use my Stream Deck because of the cat here, but
you see, this is the proof. This is the proof.
we have the proof here, with the absolute proof for Islam. I'll skip past the introduction based on their own timestamps and make this larger.
The first time travel journey the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, took was to our current time. He traveled from the
Prophet Muhammad got in a time machine, apparently, traveled from the 7th century to the 21st century. So apparently, Prophet Muhammad, not Allah, right? Not Allah. I don't know. He might be talking about Hadith here, but if he's talking about the Quran, he just said that Muhammad wrote the Quran. I think Muhammad did get in his time traveling uterus and came to the 21st century. So let's see.
7th century to the 21st century, took a look around what's happening in the world, and went back to his disciples to talk about what he witnessed. Now imagine yourself as one of the
Of course, it decides to buffer. The video decides to buffer on me. I pause it. Let's try again.
Prophet's disciples, sitting in a camp in the desert in the 7th century, hearing his stories about what
I love how they always have to point out that Muhammad is from the desert, as if that somehow makes any difference. Like a person who was from a big city in the 7th century, they could have predicted the future, but Muhammad was from a desert. So this means that he is a true prophet, because he couldn't possibly have predicted it. I don't know why they feel the need to constantly throw that in. It's like they're trying to diminish Muhammad as much as possible because they know that the prophecies are so pathetic and stupid that they have to try to make them look better.
he witnessed when he time traveled to the future. Ready? Let's start.
Yeah, let's do it.
At that time in the future, people will stop riding on animals, and there will be no need to ride on horses or camels.
Okay, so Muhammad allegedly predicted that people would no longer need to ride on horses or camels. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'm pretty much ready to convert to Islam right now, I would have to say. Well, maybe I better wait to see what the source is.
Do you know the box that we make on top of the camel? The box that has 2 or
Actually, I
4
don't.
seats for women to sit inside during our long travels, right? This box will be moving on its own without the camel. Imagine.
Okay.
Not only that, this box that will be moving alone, it will have lights on it. People
All
will
right.
be riding
All right.
boxes
Sounded
that
good.
have
Sounded
2
good.
or 4 seats and have lights on them. Yes, it was very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, this is very impressive. Muhammad basically predicted cars. I'm still waiting for a source, but hey, according to Tafsir, trust me, bro, this is a very strong prophecy.
Also, at that time in the future, a man will get out of his house, go far away from his family, and he will talk to something in his hand.
Okay, where's the source? So he's gone on to another one. He claimed that Muhammad predicted cars. Where's the hadith? Where's the hadith? Come on, I need a source, buddy. I'm not taking your word for it. Give me a source. As Mary says, Muhammad believed in flying carpets. That's probably the hadith. The hadith probably literally describes a flying carpet. And that's the source. But he doesn't want to tell us what the source is. He doesn't want to tell us the source because once we read it, we'll be like, this is obviously describing a flying carpet, not a prophecy of the future. I'm sad. I wanted to at least look at the source, but he's not going to give it to me. I don't think he's going to give me any of the sources since he didn't give me the first one. But now apparently Muhammad also predicted cell phones.
Or something on his thighs. And these things will talk back to him and tell him about what his family are doing. A man will communicate with his faraway family using something in his hand or something on his thighs.
Well, he tried to put a picture of someone having a laptop while sitting down. I'm pretty sure that's not something on your thighs. Now, again, I'm sure this hadith probably doesn't remotely say what he says, but John pointed out pagers, right? Pagers could actually be on your thigh and actually communicate. Or he could have said maybe the cell phone's in your pocket, but he shows a picture of a guy sitting down looking at a laptop because he wants Muhammad to predict phones and laptops, I guess. Yeah.
Can you believe that?
No, I can't. You didn't give me a source. You didn't give me a source. How am I supposed to believe it?
You know the dishes that we use for food?
Yeah, I mean, Muslims try to make claims about prophecies, and they have a few sources they point to. To be honest, I've never heard anyone claim that Muhammad predicted cars. I'd really like to see a source. I never heard anyone claim that Muhammad predicted cell phones. I'd really like to see a source, but apparently we're not going to get any. He's just going to keep making claims like this. Now, dishes, apparently Muhammad predicted that dishes would communicate, and I guess he's going to go to a satellite dish, which is just an English idiom and has nothing to do with a dish that you eat off of. Well, let's see.
Food and laundry. I saw these dishes communicating.
Yep, satellite dish. Muhammad said your plate is going to communicate with you, and he actually meant a satellite dish. What the heck? What the heck is this? Oh my goodness.
What is the evidence for that?
What is the evidence? Where's the sources? Come on, man. I need some sources.
These people have not enough substance.
Each other. But if you think that will help people become closer to each other and communicate more often, you're wrong.
Oh, darn. Having cell phones and satellite dishes apparently doesn't make us closer. Muhammad predicted that too. He predicted the division caused by social media and people feeling isolated and all alone. Muhammad predicted everything. Your link didn't come through, Mary. I see you said you found the source. Oh, never mind. I found it. Sahih Bukhari. All right. All right. See, look at this. Mary is doing the work that our Muslim apologist friend can't do. Or, sorry, I guess he could have done. That was an inaccurate statement. He was just too lazy to do it. So let me switch the screen share here. I have never read this hadith before. Well, I can't say that because I don't know what it is. I have not pre-selected this hadith. How about that? All right. Virtues and merits of the Prophet. Signs of prophethood in Islam. You see, this is a sign. This is the proof. The proof, I tell you. All right. Narrated Abi bin Hatim. While I was in the city of the Prophet, a man came and complained to him of destitution and poverty. Yeah, I would complain about that too. Then another man came and complained of robbery by Muhammad's men. Oh, wait, sorry, by highwaymen, according to the words added. Although it just says he complained of robbery. And if you're complaining to Muhammad, hey, it could easily be his men. Anyway, the Prophet said, Adi, have you been to Al-Hira? I said, so Adi, the narrator, says, I haven't been to it, but I was informed about it. He said, if you should live for a long time, you will certainly see a lady in a howdah traveling from Al-Hira perform the tawaf of the Kaaba, fearing none but Allah. Okay, so problem number one, if you should live a long time. Does this sound, pretend this is a prediction. I don't, well, it is a prediction, right? It is technically a prediction, but pretend it's a prediction of cars. Muhammad seems to think that this will happen within a reasonable human lifespan. So like the next 100 years, like at the most, next 100 years. I said to myself, what will happen to the robbers of the tribe of Tai who have spread evil throughout the country? And then apparently, so then there's a second prediction, right? If you live a long time, the treasures of the Khuzra will be opened. Okay. And then he asks for clarification on that. Then another prediction, if you live a long time, you'll see one will carry a handful of gold or silver and go out looking for a person to accept it from him. Will find none to accept from him. So apparently, at least 3 predictions. I may finish the hadith here, though. Okay, I don't see any more predictions, right? This thing goes on for a while. Addy, oh, look at this. Addy added later on. So after these predictions of Muhammad, Addy lets us know, lets the reader know that he saw a lady in a howdah traveling from Al-Hira till she performed the tawaf of the Kaaba, fearing none but Allah. So he says it already came true. Addy says it came true. And I was one of those who opened the treasures of Khusra. He says it came true. And then for some reason, he just repeats the last prophecy, I guess, because he didn't see that one come true. But he says the first 2 came true. Now, again, it was supposed to be in his lifetime, or at least if he lived to an old age, it was supposed to be in his lifetime. And then he says it is in his lifetime. It happened. Now, what does this actually say? All it says is that he saw a lady traveling. It doesn't say there's no camel involved. It doesn't say there's no horse involved. It doesn't say there's no animal, no beast of burden involved. It just says that he saw the lady in the little car, traveling. What is the actual prediction? That the person from Al-Hira, which is not part of the Islamic territory at that time, will do an Islamic thing. What's the actual prediction? I guess that Islam will spread to Al-Hira. It's not anything about the howdah. That's just coincidental. That's just a detail in the story. It has nothing to do with a prediction of the distant future, where these carriages on top of camels will travel on their own. All right. Are we ready to convert yet? I mean, basically, this was such a good prophecy that the guy in the video, he didn't want to tell us the source for it because he was afraid of what that would mean if he told us. Because then we might look it up, and if we look it up, then it doesn't work, right? See, what happens is
it's about time you expanded your own knowledge.
Exactly the opposite of what you want to do if you want to stay a Muslim. All right, let's see some more made up nonsense of this guy. Oh my goodness, a prediction that people will cut their family ties? No way! Oh my goodness gracious! How could Muhammad have possibly ever known that some people would reject their own families? This has never happened. Oh, can't hear it. All right, let me try resharing that. All right, I rewound a
Is
little.
communicating with each other. But if you think that will help people become closer to each other and communicate more often, you're wrong. Although they have the means to communicate over faraway distances, people will actually do the opposite. People will cut their family ties.
All right, so that's what I just reacted to. Assuming that was a prediction of the future, not much of a prediction. I doubt that there was actually any such prediction, but assuming there was, how in the world is saying that people will cut family ties amazing prophecy? I mean, Jesus said that he would divide father from son, brother from sister. I guess that means that Jesus is a great prophet because he predicted that his message would bring division. Well, according to this guy, only Muhammad and a time machine could have possibly done that.
People will also cut ties with their neighbors, unlike now where everyone knows each other and talk to each other. No, people will only greet their friends and pretend that everyone else doesn't exist.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say throughout human history, people have mostly communicated with their friends and mostly ignored strangers. I don't think that's some kind of miraculous prophecy. I mean, you be the judge, but it doesn't seem very unusual to me.
Imagine? And regarding women, oh, what will happen to women?
What will happen to women, everyone? I don't know. I'm going to guess that they'll actually have rights unlike in Islam. I mean, I'm just guessing here, right? Because this guy's just pulling stuff out of his butt. He could say anything, but I'm guessing he's going to say that women are leaders of society and have political power and, basically have rights, but not in Islamic countries, as we all know.
At that time in the future, the percentage of women will be more than the percentage of men.
What? That is his prophecy that Muhammad predicted in the future. Women will outnumber men. Well, that's true. Technically, like 50.5 or 51% of the global population is women, but I'm pretty sure that women have outnumbered men through all of world history. And it was more pronounced in the past because men died in war. Muhammad's prophecy is 50 women to every man at birth. Muslim apologists, right? Muslim apologists tell us the reason that there had to be polygamy is because there was 4 times as many women as men, and thus Allah in His mercy allows polygamy. But apparently but apparently, even though according to Muslim apologists, maybe not according to reality, according to Muslim apologists, there was way more women than men, and that's why Allah allows for polygamy. But then they even try to say that about today because they point to the 51%, and Muhammad's actual prophecy is 50 women for every man, which is 98% of the population being women. 51, 98. I mean, that's basically the same thing there, right, everyone? I mean, don't do the math. I think this is a solid prophecy. And courtesy of Mary, let's get the actual hadith up on the screen here. Chapter: The disappearance of knowledge and appearance of ignorance. Hey, Muhammad predicted the spread of Islam. Oh wait, sorry. All right, Anas. Oh, we got a grade A narrator here. I will narrate to you a hadith, and none other than I will tell you about it after it. That's kind of an interesting thing for Anas to say. I have the authoritative interpretation of this hadith because I am the messenger. I am the prophet after Muhammad. I heard Allah's messenger saying, from among the portents of the hour are the following. So the hour being the last day, the end times, religious knowledge will decrease. And then the translator helpfully adds in parentheses, by the death of religious men, because women couldn't possibly have knowledge. Because there'll be more women than men. There will be no religious knowledge in the end times. Religious ignorance will prevail. That's not really a different thing. Knowledge decreasing and ignorance increasing are kind of the same thing. I'm not giving you credit for 2 predictions there, Muhammad. That's just one. There will be a prevalence of open, illegal sexual intercourse. Hey, why didn't this guy point to that? Like that one he could actually point to and say that describes contemporary times. I'm sure it describes other times in human history too, but hey, he could at least point to that one. And then, finally, women will increase in number and men will decrease in number so much that 50 women will be looked after by one man. One man needs 50 women need to be cared for by one man because, again, women don't have any rights, right? I accidentally played the video. Let me pause that. Women don't have any rights in Muhammad's vision here. So, or any means to care for themselves. So if there are 50 times as many women, they need to have one man looking after 50 women. Yeah. This prophecy failed, my dear. Yeah, you failed big time here. It's weird, right? He skips over this, right? He skips over the one he could actually point to, and instead goes to women will increase in number and men will decrease in number. By the way, that's not true, right? Women increased in number and men have vastly increased in number as well. Like Muhammad doesn't predict population boom. He thinks the population will stay about the same. And, let's say there was 2 million people in the entire world that Muhammad knew about. In his view, it'll stay around that same number. And instead of being like 1 million women and 1 million men, it'll be like 1.9 million women and 0.1 million men. Although that's not quite enough. 197 1.97.3, something like that, 0.03 men. Anyway. Geesh. I mean, this first one, there's only really 3, but this first one, that's a matter of opinion. Can't really say one more or another. This one's true. This one's abundantly false, and that's the one he goes to. I hope that they all the men have sexual strength of 50 men. Otherwise, the women are in big trouble. All right, let's get back to the video and see some more amazing prophecies from Al Trust Me Bro, which is, of course, the best of all prophecies. Mm-hmm. Women don't really need men too much. Well, in Muhammad's view, they do. So that is all that matters there.
From Allah to...
Oh, sorry, I accidentally played a couple seconds. So let me rewind a few seconds here.
People will also cut ties with their neighbors, unlike now where everyone knows each other and talk to each
Yeah,
other.
we already saw that.
No. People will only greet their friends and pretend that everyone else doesn't exist. Imagine?
Hey,
and
everyone in the chat, you must be my friend. I'm greeting you now.
Regarding women, what will happen to women? At that time in the future, the percentage of women will be more than the percentage of men. And there will be a great movement of women, a great fitna, a great protest against the commands of Allah to them. A test from Allah to every woman at that time. If you live until that moment, tell your women.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's 50 women for every one man, that would definitely be a test for women. But women outnumbering men 51% to 49% doesn't seem to be much of a test. A great test from Allah for all the women folk. There's a very slight chance that all of the men will be taken and there'll still be women left over. Not in Islam, of course, where you can go 4 women for 1 man.
Women to be aware of it. At that time in the future, women will get out of their houses and they will be doing business like men.
Oh my goodness! Women will get out of their houses and do business like men. Imagine that! Of course, Muhammad's describing this as something horrific, something terrible. But of course, I mean, this isn't really, again, not really much of a prediction because that exists in other parts of the world during Muhammad's own time. Or, as Andrew points out, like Khadijah. At some point, the Arabian society will go back to what it was before I changed it to be so male-centric. He must have had a time machine. Muhammad had a time machine, everyone!
They will not stay in their houses like they do now. At the time in the future, women will find a way to be clothed and naked at the same time.
Oh, women will find a way to be clothed and naked at the same time. I'd really like to see that hadith. But of course, Islamically speaking, you're naked as a woman if you're showing any of your body. You're considered naked. So not much of a prediction to say that some women won't. Well, I mean, even Muslim women don't, generally speaking, have a full niqab. So oh my goodness. Who's naked here besides me? I am not naked, everyone, just so you know, because I am a man. It's okay for me to show skin. But if I was a woman wearing the same clothing, I would be, Islamically speaking, naked. And Mary, very helpfully, has found that hadith for us. I said I wanted to see it, so Mary steps up to the plate and provides. Hey, stupid thing. Why'd you go search instead of just going directly in there? Why is it doing that? Is there like a space in it or something? Whatever. It should be this one anyway. All right. Dress. This is from, oh, well, I guess it's just from the book of dress. Yahya related to me from Malik, from Muslim ibn Abi Maryam, from Abu Salih, that Abu Hurairah said, okay, Muhammad prediction, right? Abu Hurairah said. Now, a hadith, right? Hadith are sometimes not the words of Muhammad. They can be the words of companions. And that's the case here. So, Abu Hurairah is the prophet. Okay. Everyone, let's convert to whatever religion Abu Hurairah founded. Of course, he doesn't say this is a prophecy. Women who are naked, even though they're wearing clothes, are in contemporary times naked, go astray and make others go astray, and they will not enter the garden. Well, so there's your prophecy, I suppose. They will not enter the garden, and they will not find its scent, and its scent is experienced from as far of distance as traveled in 500 years. Yeah, so apparently Abu Hurairah says that some women are not properly wearing their clothes and they won't go to paradise. And this is a prophecy of Muhammad about the 20th century. Although Mary said that's probably not the one he's referring to. He's probably referring to this one. I don't know why it's doing that, but whatever. All right. So this one is actually from Muhammad saying, right? He reported God's messenger as saying, there are two classes of those who will go to hell, whom I have not seen. People with whips like oxtails, with which they strike people. Okay, so we got a prediction, I guess. Well, no. It's not really a prediction, right? He just says he hasn't personally seen them. I think it's still saying that these are people that exist in his time. They're just not people Muhammad has personally seen. But I could see how you could make this into a prophecy. People with whips like oxtails with which they strike people. Okay. Is that a description of contemporary times? Hey, everyone, have you seen people going around whipping people with whips that are like oxtails? Okay, Snoopy. You keep your fetishes to yourself. I personally have not seen these kinds of whips. And women with such clothing as it to be virtually naked, and to cite men, and are inclined towards men, whose heads are like swaying humps of Bactrian camels. Such women will not enter paradise or experience its fragrance, though its fragrance can be experienced as such in such a distance. Hey, Muhammad doesn't know the distance. He just said such and such a distance. But Abu Hurairah clarified that it's 500, the distance you can travel in 500 years, presumably by camel, although maybe on foot. I don't know. He didn't specify. Those are vastly different. But either way, his prophecy is a bit, or his statement anyway, is a bit more clear than Muhammad's. But women with clothing as to be virtually naked. I mean, there's not really much of a prediction, right? Apparently, Muhammad's never seen this, although I would say that's not true. When he saw his adopted son's wife, she was virtually naked, although wearing clothing. So apparently, Muhammad has seen this, even though he says he hasn't. But either way, not really much of a prediction. Sounds like Umar the Whipping, I assume. Yeah, not much of a prediction, but we'll forgive poor old Muhammad for that one. After all, he was just copying Abu Hurairah.
They will be publicly sexually seducing everyone while being dressed. Those women are cursed and will never smell the fragrance of paradise.
Oh, there you go. Confirmation that Mary was right. That's definitely what this guy was referring to. Not a prediction, though. I mean, it's not really a prediction. It's a description of contemporary times, just outside of the Islamic world. And there you go. But even if it was a prediction, not much of one.
At that time in the future, most people will be drinking a lot. And they
Oh, so he said at that time, most people will be drinking a lot. There was nothing in the hadith about drinking a lot. So he's presumably drawing on some other hadith, which he's not going to give us the reference for, and just saying that they're the same time period. Now, in actuality, people have been drinking a lot since they first discovered alcohol. I'm pretty sure in terms of absolute volume, people consume less alcohol per capita today than they did in ancient times, or they did during Muhammad's time, for that matter.
will be calling their drinks.
Oh my
with
gosh,
different
people
names.
will have different drinks that they call different names. Everyone, you ready to convert?
You see, this is the proof. This is the proof.
How could Muhammad have possibly known that people would call different drinks different names? It's not like they had different kinds of alcohol during Muhammad's own day, except that they did. But this is, he got in his time machine. He got in his time-traveling uterus and went all the way to the 21st century, the first time in human history that there was more than one different type of alcohol. And he said that they would call their drinks different names. Different names.
Adultery will be everywhere. Some people will even commit adultery in public places, exactly like what donkeys do. They will
So some people will have sex in public, which is technically true. It's not like super common by any means, but it's technically true. People have done that. I'm sure people did that in the 7th century too. But they'll do it like donkeys. Okay, then. All those adulterous donkeys out in public just having sex wherever they feel like it. Who on earth is this guy? I don't know. Someone in the comments recommended this guy's video. A Muslim recommended this guy's video. Now they want me to watch some other video on how Christianity's wrong, but the same guy. Okay, so let me get out of full screen. Let's see if he has his name here. Dean Academy is the name of the channel. You won't see it, but I'm opening a new tab, his about page, to see if he says anything about himself on that. No. Nope, nothing on the about page, but there is a link to his website and no indication of a name there either. So I don't know what this guy's name is, but he was recommended, and the channel is Dean Academy. If you want to check it out for some reason, maybe you need some good laughs. Who knows? First monkeys, now donkeys. Yes. As we know, monkeys committed adultery in the pre-Islamic time, and for some reason, they knew that it was wrong and would stone the monkey who committed adultery, but human beings were not as informed, and they didn't know it until Muhammad came and told them that adultery was wrong. Arabs have sex outside all the time with men and donkeys. I'm sure that's probably true. I mean, I imagine that there's never been a society in the history of mankind where no person ever had sex outside. Again, how is this a prediction? Right? And well, we don't even see the source. I don't even know what the source says, but assuming he's not misrepresenting the source, which is a very generous assumption, then big whoop-de-doo, not much of a prediction. So Jack Ray gifted one Reasoned Answers membership. And I screwed up. So let me restart the bot. Waiting a second for that to finish restarting. All right.
I can't answer this question in a 20-minute interview, nor is it wise to do so, which is why I never brought this topic up myself. You will not find one lecture of mine about this issue. It should never be brought up in public. And I don't like these idiots, and they are idiots, wallahi. This is not something you discuss amongst the masses, ya akhi. It's not wise. I encourage anybody who is really interested to go deep to take the class. I do this class. It'll be 1 year later.
To talk about Reasoned Answers memberships in public. And FYI, we do have some potential for new money clips. Didn't get a new one this time, but I added like 3 or 4 new ones. So hopefully we'll get one of those sometime today. Take my class, spend money on me, and you all can sign up for my class in the description of this video. Okay, there isn't one. But that's all right. You can still give me money. I don't mind. All right.
Just a comic. It's about time you
okay.
expanded your own knowledge.
Thank you, Artemis, for that. I didn't realize that it had, since you hit more than one, it didn't cut back, and I was talking, and I doubt you heard me. But I did take the opportunity to move her body a little bit, so hopefully she won't push any more buttons, and I have them available to me now, which is good news, because now I can play them for this amazing Dawah clip that we're watching. All right, so we heard about all the sex in public, just like the donkeys do, and let's continue.
Will have no shame. They will not even try to hide it. At the time in the
okay, so I'm pretty sure that when people do have sex in public, they definitely try to hide it because it's illegal in probably every, I don't know the laws of every jurisdiction, but in the vast majority, at least, it's illegal. So they don't want other people to see. So even if they did want others to see, they wouldn't for that reason. But then they probably also don't want others to see. Most people don't want other people watching them have sex. Yeah, Faisal, I know you're waiting for a reply. And no matter how many times you write that you're waiting for a reply, you'll still be waiting because I had not had the opportunity to do so. I'm a Catholic Arab. Please be more specific and don't generalize. It's offensive. The point wasn't that the suggestion wasn't that every Arab does this. I mean, I'm sure it's probably only 1 or 2% of the population. The point was that Arabs are not exempt from it. Just to be clear. Let us continue with the video.
Future, there will be a lot of babies born outside of marriage. Huge number of babies will be born as a result of adultery. At the time in the future, people will...
Okay. Oh, look, I accidentally played a little further. We're going to get LGBT here in a second. Of course, that one's not hard to predict since Muhammad founded the movement and all. But first of all, shame on Mary for deleting something. Shame, shame, shame on her. Weren't babies born to slaves? Of course they were. And if we looked at this hadith, I bet you it's just a description of immorality that Muhammad was aware existed, not a prediction of the future. But I don't know that for a fact since he doesn't give any sources ever. He just wants us to trust him. That is the entirety of his argument or sources. Now, we did find some of them. So I am going to give him credit and say he's probably not making it up entirely since we were able to find some of them, but he is probably completely and totally misrepresenting the sources.
Trust me, you will totally understand.
We just got to trust him. All right. Let's continue on and see. Oh, wait, sorry. Babies born out of wedlock. Yeah, we did cover that. That existed at Muhammad's time. So let's see what he says next.
We'll go back to the sin of the people of Lot, the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah. Men will love men and women will love women.
Okay, so first of all, there is no indication of woman-on-woman activity in the story of Lot. Not in the Bible, or sorry, not really the story of Lot, but the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, which is just called the story of Lot in the Quran. There's no indication of women-on-women action. Now, maybe that was happening. I don't know. But there's no indication of that. And in Islam, in the Quran, it's quite explicitly sodomy, which is not something women can do. Women cannot commit sodomy, and it's not a possibility. So, I'd like to see the source. I'd like to see the prediction of this becoming more common in the future or returning, as if it didn't exist in Muhammad's time when men are kissing Muhammad all over, and Khadijah's seen sneaking out of Muhammad's house, and Muhammad comes out all sweaty and like, nothing happened here. That was just Gabriel squeezing me. That's all. Nothing to see. And yes, your comments are coming through here, dude.
At that time in the future, diseases will appear that you never heard of before.
Oh, so Muhammad predicted novel diseases. You know what else Muhammad said about diseases? That there's no such thing as an infectious disease. That all diseases come directly from Allah. That if a camel gets sick and you had it with other camels, it didn't get sick from those other camels that were sick, because how could that first camel have caught the disease? I wonder if that's the hadith he's referring to, actually, because that says that in Muhammad's logic, right, the disease has to appear novelly. Not just new diseases in the future, but every instance of disease appears novelly from Allah directly. I don't know. Could be what he's referring to.
At that time in the future, the very poor Arabs will suddenly become rich out of nowhere. Because
finally, he gets to the one they always cite, that the poor Arabs will become rich. The Arabs will become rich. Is he going to go into buildings? Come on, buildings.
Earth under them will spit out its wealth. Something will come out from...
Nope. He goes oil instead. The earth will spit out its wealth. He doesn't go for the tall buildings. At least not yet. Maybe he will. Right? There's still several minutes left. Maybe he will, but right now he's just saying that oil, apparently, is predicted in the hadith. Again, I'd like to see the source.
From under the surface of the earth that will make them extremely rich very quickly. After this event, they will compete in building very tall buildings.
Oh, there we go. Building tall buildings.
The buildings of Mecca will surpass the mountaintops.
Hooray. So, by far, the most common prophecy that Muslims will talk about. Prophecy, right? And it is technically a prophecy, because Muhammad does say there will come a time when several things will happen. One of which is that Arabs will compete, or that barefoot naked shepherds, not Arabs, barefoot naked shepherds will compete in the building of tall buildings. Now, tall is a relative term, which is kind of important for what I'm about to say in a second. But also, he said that Arabs would give birth to non-Arabs and non-Arabs would give birth to Arabs. And that doesn't seem to have happened as near as I can tell. And these things are supposed to happen at the same time. Hello to your brother in Christ. After this live stream, I'll be over on his channel. continuing this, right? We're going to have an open call for Muslims to come and bring their best arguments for Muhammad being a prophet. So directly related to what we're talking about now. That'll be coming up in an hour and a half or so. But now I said tall is relative. So here's the problem for Muslims, among many other problems with this. According to other Sahih narrations, this came true. It had already come true. That by committing jihad and spreading Islam within a generation or two, people had grown so wealthy that they had literally nothing to do other than sit around trying to make tall buildings. So according to the Hadith, this came true within 100 years or 200 years of the time of Muhammad, because tall is a relative term. And you know, he's saying that that Arabs are competing in building tall buildings now. Well, 100 years from now, those might not be all that tall. They might be short compared to the tallest buildings in the world. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, major fail there. Came true in Muhammad's time. Also, at least according to some versions of the Hadith, wasn't said by Muhammad, was said by others. So there you go. I feel immense peace in blocking Big Mahmood. Just so everyone knows. I feel immense peace in blocking Big Mahmood for spamming. Because that's all he ever says. That and that he wants us to die. Which I guess is how he feels immense peace in Islam, because of all the death and destruction contained therein. Give me 1 second here. Trying to start up a second cat cam, because the second cat just arrived. All right. You should now have a second cat on your screen for your listening enjoyment, or watching enjoyment, whatever. Yeah, your dude took a year off, he said earlier, and he comes back and it's still Big Mahmood still spamming the same crap. He's been spamming it for more than a year. At least Prophet Muhammad made many valid prophecies. Like what, Faisal? What valid prophecy did Muhammad make? Is it the tall buildings thing? Because that's not much of a prediction. People will build large buildings. Woo! And by the way, Jesus predicted the destruction of the temple 40 years before it happened, give or take. Strange that you don't know that. Also strange that you're undermining your own prophet, right? According to the Quran, Jesus had prophecies. So you're saying the Quran's wrong? Yeah, sorry. I said there's many problems and then I didn't highlight them all. Yeah, they're not barefoot, naked shepherds, right? Because Muhammad isn't actually referring to Arabs. He's actually referring to the Bedouins, the lowest, least sophisticated people of his time. That even they would compete. Yeah, Phil. Muslims allege that Jesus prophesied Ahmed. But according to Faisal, Jesus had no valid prophecies. Congratulations, Faisal. You just said that your Quran is false. I agree, your Quran is false. Jesus didn't prophesy that. I tell you, they try to defend Islam and they end up undermining it.
And all of that will happen suddenly. At that time in the future, people will have
happen suddenly, even though each one of these things is his own different claim about a different hadith. Pretty much every one of these comes from a different hadith. Somehow, the guy making this video knows that they will all happen at the same time, even though, as we already looked at, Several of them are fulfilled within 100 years of Muhammad, according to the Islamic sources. The Islamic sources being written down at the same time as these so-called claims, by the way. Another good prophecy of Jesus. Many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. Yeah, Jesus predicted Muhammad. I agree. Jesus did predict Muhammad. Yes, you're right, Faisal. Muhammad did predict the conquest of Jerusalem, Persia, and Constantinople. And he predicted that all those would happen within 100 years, and that when they did happen, that would be the end of the world. That the second coming would happen, and the day of judgment would be upon them. Was that correct? Oh, and isn't that what every warlord predicts, that they'll be victorious in conquest, minus the end of the world will then ensue? Yeah, that is what every warlord predicts. So every successful warlord is a true prophet, according to Faisal, except Muhammad, because he predicted the end of the world when the conquest happened and got the timing wrong. Good job, Faisal. We're all going to convert to Islam, because if you ignore the specifics, Muhammad got something right. Of course, he got many things wrong, right? There are prophecies of Muhammad, actual prophecies of Muhammad, about specific groups of people doing specific things that no longer exist and thus could not possibly ever come true. But, Muhammad predicted that his army would be victorious, so he's a true prophet, according to Faisal.
The power to break mountains, even remove them completely from their places. People will remove a mountain from a piece of land to use it for different purposes. At the time in the future,
people will people will remove mountains, apparently. Apparently, this is in our prediction of Muhammad at this precise time when all these things are coming true, which, by the way, are mostly predictions about what will happen in the last hour. So apparently we're living in the last hour, and they were at the conquest of Constantinople, and they were at the conquest of Jerusalem, and they were for the first 100 years of Islam, because Muhammad said it would happen within 100 years. It's all just the last hour. Muhammad predicted all these things would happen at the same time, which really means a span of at least 1400 years. But since there are many prophecies that will never be fulfilled, I guess it's actually an infinite amount of time. We just say, well, that one hasn't been fulfilled yet, but they're all happening at the same time. It's all the last hour. It's all good. It's all good. And Faisal, you were wrong. Jesus did not predict the end of the world would happen in his own generation. He predicted that when the things he described happen, it would be within that generation that the end would also happen. The things he described have not happened, so the timeline has not begun. Unlike Muhammad, who said, look at this young boy. If he lives to an old age, the end will come within his lifetime. And elsewhere said, 100 years from now, there will be no people left on the earth because the end will have occurred. He gave a pretty specific timeline and failed. But this is pathetic, Faisal, right? You can't answer any of these things. So all you do is attack Jesus because you have no arguments for Islam. All you can do is attack Jesus because, let's be honest, the only reason you're a Muslim is because you hate Jesus. You hate the truth. You find the truth disgusting, and so you will attack it and say, I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim because I attacked my own prophet, claiming that he's a false prophet. I love you, Muhammad. I worship and kiss you. Not in a gay way, because that would be wrong. All right, let's play some more of this video.
people will have the power to pierce holes in rocks, to make tunnels, roads, and water channels inside the mountains and under the surface of the earth. Imagine.
And it predicted
At the time in
underwater
the
tunnels
future,
or under
the
earth
Euphrates
tunnels
River will dry
with
up.
pipes, apparently.
Iraq will be denied its.
So he's going through these fast and furious now. He predicted some river would dry up, apparently. Again, no sources for anything. That's a little
Imagine.
hard to test.
At the time in the future, the Euphrates River will dry up.
Faisal, you're not that stupid. You're not that stupid. You know exactly where Jesus predicted the destruction of the temple. I know you know it. And if you don't, then spend 2 seconds on Google. And then you're going to come back and say, this is invalid because the Gospels weren't written until after the time of Jesus. So he didn't actually predict it.
Iraq will be denied its wealth, and Egypt will be denied its wealth.
Iraq will be denied its wealth, and Egypt will be denied its wealth at some point in the future. Hey, everyone. I am a prophet of God. At some point in the future, no matter if that's 100 years from now or 5,000 years from now, the United States will no longer be the greatest nation in the world. It'll be denied its wealth. Alhamdulillah. This is a prophecy from Allah.
The wealth will be in Arabia, while the neighbors will be living in poverty.
All the wealth of the world is currently in Arabia. All of its neighbors are living in poverty. Alhamdulillah. And that's why all the Muslims from these countries desperately want to immigrate to the West, because they like poverty, not because their countries are in poverty. Yeah, there is wealth, but it's owned by like a tiny fraction of people. It's not like the average person has any oil wealth.
How will that happen, O Prophet of Allah? It will happen after foreign intervention.
Happen after foreign intervention. Oh, yes. Tafsir, I'll trust me, bro. It'll happen after foreign intervention.
At that time in the future, the pen will be widespread.
The pen will be widespread, Muhammad predicts. The pen will be widespread. Everyone will know how to write, except for Muhammad, because he is illiterate.
See now how the percentage of people who can read and write is less than 10%?
Oh, Muhammad said that. Really? Now this one I really want to know, guys. According to this guy, there's a hadith where Muhammad says less than 10%, as if he even knows what 10% means. Less than 10% of the population know how to read and write.
And even those who can read and write, there is nothing for them to read, right?
That doesn't make any sense, boy. If 10% of the population can read and write, and including Muhammad's uncle who wrote the Torah, according to Sahih Hadith, then obviously there's something to read.
The time in the future, the majority of people will be able to read and write, and there will be an abundance of material to read.
So, Mary, find this hadith for me. I want to know the hadith where 10% of the population could read and write at Muhammad's time, and in the future, it will be a majority. I really want to see this one. Faisal, I don't care. Give some evidence for your prophet, or you will be timed out. We're not discussing your idiotic ideas about how Jesus is a false prophet, which contradict Islam. We are discussing evidence for Islam. By arguing about Jesus, you are proving you don't have any evidence, which I agree. You don't have any evidence. There is zero evidence that Islam is true. That's why fools like you always want to talk about Christianity, because you think by arguing against Christianity, stealing arguments from atheists, that somehow this proves Islam is true. Even though, according to your book, your God says that Jesus is a true prophet, that Jesus brought the gospel, that the Christians have the gospel in the time of Muhammad. You don't care, right? You don't seem to care. I'll go ahead and play more of the video. If you find that hadith, Mary, let me know.
The message of Islam will be accessible from all over earth. But at the same time, people will become more ignorant and more deluded for some reason.
All right. Mary has come through. I think that this is the same thing, right? The second thing he said was a different way of saying the same thing, I suspect. So let's pull this up here. Mary found the hadith. It's from an obscure collection, I believe. Let me share my screen. I got all these screen shares or all these cameras going because of the cats. All right. Hadith on the signs. The hour is preceded by major social upheaval. Oh, that sounds pretty solid. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Ibn Masud reported, the Prophet said, just before the hour. Oh, this one's very specific, right? Just before the hour. The greeting of peace will only be given to specific people. Okay. Good to know. Trade will proliferate to the point that a woman will help her husband in business. He said that women would be out doing their own businesses. This hadith says help her husband in business. Her husband is so freaking rich and he has so much business that he needs all the help he can get. And he's willing to take it even from his wife. Okay. That's basically the same thing as what he said. Family ties will be severed. He said that. Pen will spread. Pen will spread. Where's 10%? Where's 10%? Where's the majority? All he says is the pen will spread. I will give Muhammad credit, or I'll give whoever really wrote this credit, that means literacy will increase, but it just says it'll increase. Going from 5% to 7% is an increase. That would be sufficient to say this is true. And all this will happen just before the hour. Just before the hour. All right, because just before the hour is 100 years from the time of Muhammad. I forgot. False testimony will prevail and truthful testimony will be concealed. Hey! This one is correct, right? We got Faisal in the chat doing that. He's proliferating false testimony and concealing true testimony. Congratulations, Faisal. You proved your prophet correct. Woo! Woo! 1 out of 5 things he got right. 1 out of 5. Good job. Good job. Woo! And this is in Al-Abd al-Mufrad. Apparently, but the greatest Sahih, so no worry about it. Al-Albani said so, and Al-Albani is infallible, as we all know. He is actually very important in hadith grading. So, Sahih, Muhammad said this. Okay, I feel peace in Islam, Big Mahmood. Apparently, Muhammad prophesied the Taliban spreading Islam to Jerusalem. They haven't. So I know what you're getting at. You're getting at your desire for Jerusalem to be destroyed. This hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen. Right? There's approximately 0 chances of the Taliban doing that. They're not even trying to do that, and yet this is your evidence for the truth of Islam. All right. I mean, I'm just amazed at this video. I don't know why you guys aren't. I don't know why you guys are still watching. And why are 60 people watching this video? Why haven't you all gone and out to say your Shahada? Yeah, exactly. Taliban are not Hamas. Hamas is trying to destroy Israel or Jerusalem. Hezbollah is trying to destroy Israel or Jerusalem. The Taliban aren't even trying. Yet this is genius. Puts an extra false prophecy in Muhammad's mouth. Takes help from his wife. That is animal abuse. Hey, now there, your brother in Christ. We can't have that. We cannot have that in this chat.
Just something you can't fathom.
All right.
People will listen to idiots and get their knowledge from them.
Hey, people will listen to idiots and get their knowledge from them. Muhammad's looking more and more like a true prophet. I mean, Muhammad Hijab, Ali Dawah, Zakir Naik, Uthman. This is the people that Muslims are listening to and getting their knowledge from. They are definitely idiots. I have to give it to Muhammad. He got this one right. In the future, Muslims would get their knowledge from idiots. I mean, who can disagree with that? Tell me in the chat. Can you disagree? Is Muhammad wrong here? Is it not true that Muslims get their knowledge from idiots today?
You dumb!
Nadir Ahmed, subhanallah, Islam is the truth. Muhammad told us to wash our hands. This is the proof. This is a miracle. I remind you of Nadir or the guy in the video or both. I don't mind. Yeah, Andrew Martin is ready to convert to Islam. This is a proof of Muhammad. Idiots believe, or I'm sorry, Muslims believe the teachings of idiots. Mm-hmm. Snoopy also agrees. Everyone, we have found the proof. We have found the real proof of Islam is that in the future, no one will listen to smart people. Instead, they'll get their knowledge from idiots. We got Ali Dawah. Definitely an idiot. I don't know if he still has more subscribers than Muhammad Hijab or not, but at one point he did. They have fairly similar number now, I think. I don't know. Both have over 1 million subscribers. Got Ali Dawah. You got Muhammad Hijab. I mean, could you find bigger idiots anywhere in the world? And yet this is where their knowledge from. You have Zakir Naik, who has now been largely rejected and forgotten by Muslims, but he has like 4 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. And I still get comments from people all the time. You should debate Zakir Naik because he did 2 debates 30 years ago. He's a major debater. So again, people getting their knowledge from idiots. Which reminds me, we have a very important poll here. Is this the proof? Answers. Boy, I'm a medical doctor. Yeah. Or you see, medical doctor is winning. Zakir Naik. If a woman gets raped, it is her fault for not dressing modestly. I mean, you don't need to attribute that to Zakir Naik. I'm sure he said it, but every Muslim apologist would agree with that because it comes straight from Muhammad's mouth. I'm sorry, Allah's mouth. Straight from Allah's mouth. All right, I mean, this video is going up. We got some true prophecies coming in.
People will have a hard time differentiating between truth and lies. Lies and false testimonies will be widespread. People will...
True. Islam is more widespread now than ever. Lies are widespread. I agree.
Trust the traitors and will disbelieve the trustworthy ones.
Yep. I agree again. People are trusting in the traitors like Muhammad and not believing in the truth.
There will be public speakers whose whole career is based on mocking and making fun of others.
Hey, there'll be public speakers whose whole career is based on mocking and making fun of others. Enter the room, Muhammad Hijab. Muhammad is nailing it. Guys, this is amazing. Muhammad is nailing it. Quick aside, since Caleb asked me twice, why do you think that DDOT was so globally influential? Because he was the first Muslim willing to take his crap to Western audiences. And being the first pretty much automatically makes you influential. And to DDOT's credit, he at least tried to bring intellectual arguments. Now, he was a deceiver, of course, but he at least tried. He would probably be embarrassed by what passes for Islamic apologetics today. So the combination of presenting the pseudo-intellectual field, the pseudo-intellectual argument, and being the first makes him highly influential.
At that time in the future, most countries will be ruled by its hypocrites.
Most countries will be ruled by its hypocrites. I mean, all people are kind of hypocritical to some degree. I wouldn't say that leaders are more hypocritical today than ever before. Well, maybe the princes and kings of Saudi Arabia, they're definitely pretty hypocritical because they're throwing parties with alcohol and scantily clad women and everything else you'd find in a Western party while claiming to be the true Islam, the last defenders of Islam and all that. So there is that. But in general, I don't think leaders are more hypocritical. I think, one, human beings are hypocritical to some degree all the time. And two, leaders have always been hypocrites. One rule for me, one rule for you. That's kind of like the most common thing that every leader has done. Yeah, a lot of this is equivalent to water is wet, right? I mean, some of these might be predictions of Muhammad, but I suspect a lot of them are probably just statements of what he observed, and this guy's calling them prophecies.
Police forces will be everywhere. People will be told.
Police forces will be everywhere. Hey guys, police forces are everywhere, according to Muhammad, or according to this guy's interpretation of Muhammad, which is strange because I don't think that there's any larger presence of police now than 50 years ago or 100 years ago.
Torturing each other. A man will be given a choice between being oppressed or being a sinner.
Oh, a man would be given a choice between being oppressed or being a sinner. You mean like what the Bible constantly promises to the followers of Jesus? Oh, thanks for saying that the Bible is true prophecy.
If you are given that choice, choose to be oppressed over being a sinner. At the time in the future, riba will be everywhere.
Riba, interest, will be everywhere. This one they cite a lot. This is probably, if I had to guess, probably the second most common claim about Muhammad's prophecies. Now, if you actually read it, like in context, it's saying that even the Muslim can't avoid paying interest because it's so overwhelming. Now, interest has existed since ancient times, right? It's always existed, right? The Bible talks extensively about abusive uses of interest. I'm pretty sure in every society there's been widespread use of interest because it's a very important financial instrument. It's subject to abuse, but it's a very important financial instrument because it allows, without the existence of interest, there'd be no way for someone who needs a large sum of money right now to start some project, whether that's a king and their building project, or that's a new business or whatever. There'd be no way for anyone to do that now unless they already had the money, in which case they probably wouldn't need to do the project. Generally speaking, right? There'd be no way to do it. So interest has always existed. It's always been a part of life, not much of prediction. And if you read it, all Muhammad's, if there's any prediction at all in it, it's that Muslims will be subject to it.
Interests. The majority of humanity will be dealing in debt, interest, and loans.
I don't think it says anything about the majority of humanity. I don't have the words in front of me, but I've looked at this one a number of times, and it doesn't say anything about the majority of human beings. It specifically says Muslims. And Mary's right. The problem with interest in ancient times was that, well, one, that it was high, but especially that people used it to take advantage of others, right? People in a desperate situation. Think like the classic mafia loan type situation. Well, that was the normal situation for interest in the ancient world, that people would essentially sell themselves into slavery as a result of these contracts, because there was no way out of them and the interest was very high. And Houston says interest was high because loan money both sides of wars, which meant guaranteed 50% default rate. I mean, there's lots of reasons. There's no legal protections for the lender, generally speaking. The way law worked in the ancient world was basically you had to pay for the police and you had to pay for the courts. There was no like built-in protection. There was also not a lot of transparency. You didn't know what all you knew is that the guy down the street would charge you 50% interest. You didn't know that the guy in the next town over would only charge you 40, and so forth. Anyway, not much of a prediction.
This will be very widespread to the extent that even if you don't deal with interest, you will be affected by its dust.
So even if you don't deal with interest, it'll still harm you. That is actually what the Hadith says, but it's talking about Muslims, right? It's talking about Muslims being affected by this, which I guess is kind of true, because as Mary says, they don't even try to avoid riba, which is, they have their legal loopholes where I will buy your $10,000 car for $13,000 today and pay you without interest $13,000 over the next 5 years. One way they play it, right? There are also other ways they play it, but they have fees and whatnot instead, and voluntary tips and stuff like that instead of interest, but it's just the same thing with a different name.
It will harm you anyway, whether you do it or not.
Yeah, it's going to harm you either way, so you might as well just do it.
Just by existing in a country that deals in riba. At that time in the future, kids will be treating their parents in a completely different way than what we're used to.
I would like to know what we're used to, right? I actually don't know where he's going to go with this. I guess he's going to say kids are disrespectful today. I don't know. But completely different way, right? Well, that means we'd have to know what they were doing then.
Now kids respect and completely obey and serve their parents until they die, right?
Okay, so that's what he claims the Hadith says, is that all kids completely obey and serve their parents until the day they die. Does anyone believe that crap? Like, seriously, do you think that kids in the past, I mean, this is a very common thing, right? Look at the past and say, things were so much better and different in the past, blah, blah, blah. But does anyone ever think that was really true? That kids just every kid just blindly obeyed their parents all the time? No child was ever disobedient? Give me a freaking break, right? Just look at the prodigal son in the New Testament. Did he completely obey and respect his father until the day he died? No? Well, then mom is just making up a lie about the past, saying that kids used to always perfectly obey.
But at that time in the future, a mother will give birth to her own master. Children will become so disobedient and filled with rage, you will find the mother like a servant to her kids, not the opposite.
Hey, everyone in the chat, stop enslaving your mothers. I mean, I don't enslave mine, but you guys must. He says it's the case. Muhammad's prophecy has come true. All you people are enslaving your mothers. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Crackhead clown individuals.
You are crackhead clown individuals for enslaving your mother.
At that time in the future, a lot of young people will become extremely rich.
Young people will become rich. A lot. Now, of course, there have been people who made a large fortune at a young age. I don't know about a lot, though. A lot? Really? I don't know. I don't know everyone's age in the chat. But if you're under the age of 25, tell me how many of your friends are rich. Is it a lot of your friends? Most of your friends? A few of your friends? None of your friends? Now, according to him, this has already come true. And I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe all the young people in the audience are rich. If you're under the age of 25, you must be extremely rich. I expect you to make some donations right now. Mary says this is not about disrespect. The girl is already a slave. It is about being so upside down that masters will come from slave girls. That's probably true. That's probably what the Hadith is really about. Because that's kind of the theme of a lot of these end time predictions in Muhammad, that everything will be upside down. The barefoot, naked shepherds will be building the tall buildings. The Arab women will be giving birth to non-Arabs. The slaves their children will enslave their masters. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense in that context. Not as an actually accurate prediction, that never happened, but as a theme to Muhammad's prophecies, sure, that makes sense. Mary gave the source here, so we'll pull that up. All right. This is Hadith is narrated, blah, 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 blah. Wait. Okay. Almost the whole thing was the authority. So it's referring to the previous one, presumably, that there's one difference between it, and that the words, when a slave girl gives birth to her master. Yeah. So it's like this is a continuation of the previous one, which is AE here. This is long, so I'm trying not to read the whole thing. All right, here's where the prediction comes, right? He replied, so when is the hour, right? Someone asked Muhammad, when is the hour? Muhammad replies, the one who is asked about it is no better informed than the inquirer. However, I will narrate some of its signs for you, which is a contradiction, right? Contradiction. He says, I'm not better informed than you, but I'm going to tell you stuff you don't know. So which is it? Is he better informed or is he not better informed? Is this Muhammad admitting that he's a liar and he's just making stuff up and he doesn't really know anything? I don't know. But he says, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. When the slave girl will give birth to her master, then that is its signs. See? This means children will become so disobedient that they enslave their own mothers, according to our video. But the clear words here are exactly what Mary said, that society is thrown into disevil, the slaves become the slave masters. And then the naked barefoot would become the chiefs of the people. Hey, so it's different, right? This is different than building tall buildings, but same idea as the tall building thing, right? They want to get to that because they want it to be about tall buildings, but really it's about them becoming chiefs, them becoming the leaders, them becoming the greatest of society, of the Arab society. The Bedouin, bare naked people will be the leaders. And then the shepherds of the black camels, would exalt themselves in buildings. So, continuing the idea there, but in a less clear way than they like to say. The hour is among one of the five which no one knows but Allah. Apparently there's five things that only Allah knows. That's quite extraordinary, if you ask me, that there's only five things that only Allah knows. I would think that, the almighty creator of the universe would know a lot more than just five things that no human being knows, but apparently it's just five things. And then blah, blah, blah. And, some words about how Allah is so great because he knows the last hour. There you go, though. The signs are slave girl, give birth to master, not daughters become or sons become so disobedient that they enslave their own parents, but rather that the slave girl will become master. And then similar idea that the barefoot naked shepherds will be the leaders of society and build the tall buildings. I mean, this is just astonishingly accurate. I mean, I don't know why anyone's watching this video and you haven't all like rushed to the nearest mosque to convert to Islam.
Then the logical conclusion is that Allah was unjust.
Mm-hmm.
You will find young men and young women who will gain abundant wealth somehow. At that time in the future,
I want to see that news story.
And completely obey and serve their parents until they die, right? But at that time in the future, a mother will give birth to her own master.
Yeah.
Children will
Very
become
well
so disobedient and filled with rage. You will find the mother like a servant to her kids, not the opposite. At that time in the future, a lot of young people will become extremely rich. You will find young men and young women who will give
9-year-old boy is named highest earning YouTube star of 2020. So Ryan's toy review is the proof of Islam. Everyone. Ryan's World, or whatever it's called exactly. I know, I know the gist of it, but obviously I don't watch it. But I think it's called Ryan's World. Anyway, that's the proof of Islam. Is that in the year 2020, Ryan made more money than anyone else on YouTube with $30 million. Now, $30 million is a lot of money, but it's certainly not the highest salary in the entire world. It's only the highest amount on YouTube, according to this survey, which is probably just ad revenue only, I'm guessing. It probably doesn't really account for the total sources of wealth. And by the way, his parents probably actually got the money. They probably didn't really put it in, Ryan's bank account. But regardless, in 2020, probably not in 2019 or 2021, but in 2020, Ryan's Toy Review was the highest grossing YouTube channel. So Muhammad is a true prophet. Never mind. Never mind that, you got like CEOs who made you probably got like hundreds of CEOs that made more than $30 million. You got business owners who might have made as much as $1 billion. You got people with vast portfolios of stocks that gained or lost tens of billions of dollars. But because Ryan grossed anyway, $30 million from the Ryan's World YouTube channel, that is the proof of Islam. I don't know. I mean, I can't argue.
You see, this is the proof. This is the proof.
This is the best proof for the truth of Islam in the history of humanity. And I unshared because I thought it was a web page, but it was actually me pausing the video.
in abundant wealth somehow. At that time in the future, moralities will be very rare. and people will be using foul language all the time. Foul.
Well, fuck that. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to prove Muhammad true. People be using foul language all the time. You know, like Abu Bakr, who told people to go suck the clitoris of their goddess. Hey, that did happen within the first 100 years of Islam, so it's consistent. Islam is true because of YouTube money. You bet. You bet.
Language will be the normal language. Bribery will be widespread.
So foul language is the normal language. Now, by definition, that's impossible. Right? By definition, that's actually impossible, because if it's the norm, it's no longer foul language. Right? In other words, what was foul language 100 years ago might just be normal speech today, and I'm sure that's probably true, right? I'm not an expert on evolution of every word, but I'm sure there's words that were considered foul language 100 years ago that are no longer considered dirty words today, and the dirty words of today might not be the dirty words 100 years from now. Yeah. Foul language, quack, quack, quack. Hey, who let Nadir into the channel?
Prayers will be abandoned. Even murder incidents will be a lot.
Even murder incidents will be a lot. Now, again, I'm not an expert on all statistics everywhere. I'm not like Zakir Naik, who just makes things up and attributes them to some false, non-existent source. But I am almost certain that the murder rate is globally is the lowest it's ever been in human history. There might be more in absolute numbers because there's a lot more people, but rate-wise, I'm pretty sure murder rate is at an all-time low. I know for sure in the United States, even though people talk about rising crime and whatnot, objectively, violent crime has decreased considerably over the last decade, last 2 decades, last 50 years, whatever time frame you look at. Violent crime is steadily decreasing in the United States, and I'm pretty sure it's that case most places in the world, other than places like, say, Afghanistan, where the Taliban takes over, and thus maybe murder is on the rise. Globally, it's on the decline. Murder incidents will be a lot. Very precise. This is a very precise, very testable prophecy. Now, the reason he said murder will be a lot is because he probably knew what I just said, that murder was much higher in the 7th century than it is now.
You will even see destruction of whole civilizations. At the time,
oh my goodness, in the future, you'll see the destruction of whole civilizations. This never happened in the history of the world. This is not something that, say, the Assyrians did, or the Babylonians, or Alexander the Great, or the Romans. Oh, wait. They all did. And they're all, at least had some foothold in the part of the world that Muhammad's from. I want to give Muhammad credit. This probably isn't a prophecy. It's probably just a declaration of contemporary life. How many eyebrows can one person have? I don't know. 4? I don't know. You stumped me.
time in the future, mosques will be decorated in a very nice way. But
oh, Muhammad predicted that they would have decorations on their mosques. He's such a good prophet. There's no possible way that Muslims, assuming he even predicted this, that Muslim couldn't intentionally fulfill it. He must be a true prophet.
The hearts will be corrupted.
Oh no, their hearts will be corrupted. Muhammad, according to this guy arguing for the truth of Islam, who is a Muslim, presumably, his heart is corrupted. That's the only way Muhammad can be a true prophet. He says that Islam, today's Islam, is all corrupt and yucky and bad, And that's the proof of Muhammad's a true prophet. What an ironic statement. And I do have an ironic clip. I just forgot where it is.
Isn't that ironic?
Isn't that ironic?
At that time in the future, musical instruments will be very widespread.
Musical instruments will be widespread. I guess musical instruments are widespread. I don't know how you measure that. I mean, maybe a majority of people own a music instrument. Maybe that would be widespread. I'm not sure that's true. I'm sure that I think they're probably more common today than they were in Muhammad's time, because musical instruments were, somewhat valuable things that not everyone could own. But as Daniel says, music will be widespread. Amazing prophecy. Yeah, I mean, music has been ubiquitous throughout human history. It's like one of the marks of being a human being almost, that you enjoy music. What's next? People eat food. Well, he tried to make it specifically about instruments, which, I mean, instruments might technically be more widespread, but music certainly isn't more widespread. And Mary says she thinks it's more common in Muhammad. I don't have the stats. I'm just guessing. It could possibly be technically true, but I'm sure that the meaning here is really that people will be infatuated by music, which is ubiquitous throughout human history in every society. Great prediction.
Musical instruments will be even literally on people's heads.
Okay. Literally on people's heads. I guess he's going to refer to headphones, which, guess what? That's not a musical instrument. Headphones are not musical instruments. For there to literally be a musical instrument on my head, I'd have to have a guitar on the top of my head, or maybe like my hair somehow was being used as an instrument. That's like how you would literally have an instrument on your head. I don't think that's a prophecy. Well, that's because you don't believe. Muhammad predicted headphones or whatever this guy's going to claim. And we got Joe Bitta here saying that the prophet predicted we'd capture Istanbul, which we already went over once. He did indeed predict that. He also predicted that this would literally usher in the last days. And the people who conquered Constantinople kind of just sat around waiting for the end days for several years because they thought it was coming. They believed Muhammad. So he predicted, oh, by the way, he also got the time way wrong, because he predicted it would happen within a few hundred years, and it took what, 600, 700 years, something like that? About 600, I think. So Muhammad said, like, within 100 years, happened 500, 600 years, 700 years later. And the last day was supposed to come in at that time. And Muslims knew this prophecy, and they devoted every last resource to capturing Constantinople. But somehow this is a proof of Muhammad's prophethood.
Imagine people wearing musical instruments.
I called it. Headphones. Headphones are not musical instruments. A speaker is not a musical instrument. A musical instrument produces music. That is not what a speaker does. It's not what a headphone does.
Instruments on their heads and walking around with it. That's very weird.
Thaddeus is a true prophet. Yes. I mean, my prophecies are at least as good as Muhammad. Now, I think they're pretty easy to predict, but so are Muhammad's prophecies, right?
The time in the future, unfortunately, there will be some of my own ummah who will pretend that musical instruments are halal.
There's some of my own ummah that would pretend musical instruments are halal. Yeah, it is interesting, actually. I guess music is just that important to human culture. But some things Muslims are very strict on, right? Like every Muslim in the world will act like eating pork is the worst thing you could ever do. However, the vast majority do ignore musical instruments, right? They don't seem to have a problem with that. And even more, ignore pictures, images. It seems that some things are more important than Allah's commands.
And they will give fatwas to people saying that
As Phil points out, Muhammad is very specific, right? This isn't just me. This isn't just me saying something that is not that specific. And, you know, I think the last hour will be clear enough, but it's actually a lot more specific than that, because he says the coming forth of the Dajjal will take place within a period of 7 months. So if in 7 months of the capture of Constantinople, the Dajjal came, I think, right? May 29th, 1453 is when, so I was right the first time, between 700 and 800 years, 720-ish years. The conquest of Constantinople, 7 months later, so May 29th, 1453, 7 months later would be December 29th. So by the end of 1453, we should have had the Dajjal appearing. Dang, we blew us. The Dajjal's been around for 570 years and no one has noticed.
it's okay to listen to music from my own ummah. At that time in the future, fitna, trials will be a lot.
Trials will be a lot, says Muhammad.
Men will be sitting and trials are being presented on a grid in front of him. A grid that has
Oh my gosh. I want to see this hadith. Find this hadith for me, please. A man will be sitting on his couch, and then he'll turn on his TV, open up Netflix, and there'll be a grid in front of him with all the things that he can watch. This is a prediction of Muhammad, guys. Muhammad predicted Netflix. Or Hulu or whatever else you prefer. He predicted streaming services. Oh no. He's such a good prophet.
This is really funny and sad at the same time.
I'm not actually sure it's all that sad, though. It's mostly just funny.
The thought itself is ridiculous.
I can't get over it. This is the best one. I considered stopping this and going to a different video, but I'm so glad we made it this far. Muhammad predicted Netflix, everyone. If you can find that hadith, put it in chat.
vertical and horizontal lines, like Hasir. Every time he consumes one of these trials, it leaves a black spot in his heart until he.
Hey, everyone. Netflix is leaving black spots in your heart. I think it's time for a class action lawsuit. The only way your heart's turning black is if the tissue's like burning and dying. This is what Netflix does to you. The prophet said so.
His heart becomes filled with black spots that he doesn't care anymore about what's good and what's evil.
Guys, your hearts are so full of black spots from Netflix that you just don't care. You just don't care what is good and what is evil.
So die in your rage.
It's all Netflix's fault. Phil says he's never watched Netflix. That's because you have passed the trials of Allah. You did not fall for any of the temptation to watch Netflix. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's probably Islamic programming on Netflix. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't really watch much TV at all. But I imagine there's probably Islamic programming because there's literally thousands of things you can watch. And this guy does seem to know his Netflix pretty well. And look, he's got look in the background. He's got a computer screen. Now he has kept his desktop nice and clean so that he wouldn't have rows of icons to bring temptations to him, I guess.
At that time in the future, things will happen much quicker. What usually takes us years, for example, they will do it in a month.
Things will happen quicker in the future. There'll be technological progress. Hey, guys, in the future, technology will improve. Things will be done faster. Are you ready to join my new religion? I guess the true prophet here is Moore. I don't remember his first name, but of Moore's Law, right? Where the computing speed doubles every 18 months. Gordon Moore, co-founder of Intel. This has been true for a couple decades, maybe 3 decades, that computer speed has improved at a pretty linear rate, that it continues to double every, I guess that'd be exponential technically. Fixed exponential rate. That it continues to double every 18 months. That's quite a prophecy. That is much more specific than things in the future will be faster. So Gordon Moore is a better prophet than Muhammad. Why are you accepting information from a guy in a pink jacket? That one's easy to answer, Carol. It was in one of Muhammad's prophecies. People will get their information from idiots. How can you doubt Muhammad? This guy is proving it true. Yeah, I said linearly, but technically it's exponentially. But people normally think of exponential as like increasing rate. But doubling every 18 months would be exponential. It'd just be like a fixed exponential growth as opposed to increasing exponentially. Okay.
At that time in the future, marketplaces will be everywhere. Not like
marketplaces will be everywhere, guys. There'll be stores in the future. There'll be places you can buy things. How could anyone know that there would be places to buy stuff in the future? I am amazed that Muhammad came up with this prophecy. And this is one of the best prophecies in the history of the world.
No religion can ever debate this.
Muhammad predicted stuff would be sold. There will be a second conquest of Constantinople. So you're saying that the prophecy hasn't come true then? So why did you cite it? You can't say it came true and that it didn't come true. Or you can't say it came true and it's in the future. It's one or the other, or neither, because it's false in reality. Mm-hmm. And to all the mods, if you see Mahmoud or any of his, this time he went by Professor Mahmoud, but if you see anyone spamming the usual shit that he spams, proving Muhammad correct, using curse words, just go ahead and straight hide him. Just go ahead and straight block him. I've dealt with him long enough. I went ahead and did it this time, but mods, you have my permission to block Mahmoud, and only Mahmoud, unless he's on topic. If he's on topic, don't block him. But if he's but if he says, I feel peace in Islam, or he talks about how much joy he has for some incident of Islamic violence, then just straight block him. Who are they going to conquer Constantinople from? Themselves, I guess, right? Joe Bida inventing a new prophecy.
like now, as we have one marketplace per city. No, marketplaces everywhere, and they will become very close to each other. But take care, because the people controlling those marketplaces will be the worst people.
If you own a shop, if you own a business, you are the worst of all creatures, according to Pink Jacket. I'm going to start calling him Pink Jacket since someone pointed that out. According to Mr. Pink Jacket, you are the worst of all creatures. Now, according to Allah, you are the worst of all creatures, not if you open a shop, but if you are a Jew or Christian. You let me know which one you think is more correct, Allah or Pink Jacket. Islam is true because of the malls. You see? You see? I was going to play D-Dot, but cat's blocking.
At the time in the future, rainwater will not be pure anymore. Rainwater will be contaminated for some reason.
Rainwater will not be pure anymore. It'll be contaminated for some reason. I imagine there was contaminated rainwater in particular places at particular times throughout human history. But Muhammad predicted acid rain. He predicted pollution. This is the proof. It's the proof of Islam.
Islam started as being ignored by most people. Then Allah will strictly adhere to it. Then at that time in the future, it will be ignored once again.
Oh, my goodness. He actually did the prophecy correctly. But this guy said all these things are happening now. So he once again just threw Muslims under the bus, right? I get lots of Muslims coming in here and telling me that Islam is the fastest growing religion. This is the proof of Islam. But this guy gets it right. According to Muhammad, in the last days, which this guy says Muhammad's prophecies are all coming true now, so we must be in the last days, that everyone will leave Islam. Okay. Mr. Pink Jacket is a Muslim, but no one else is. Everyone else is just pretending to be a Muslim.
There's abuse happening.
Abuse of the mind.
Lucky are the ones who will stick to it at that time. There will always be a group of my followers who are sticking to the truth. They don't care
Who
if
ate the
everyone
apple?
else leave them or ignore them. The more you go in the future, the more you will see evil spreading. At the time in
the more you go in the future, the more you'll see evil spreading. That's very interesting, right? Because at the time of Muhammad, Islam controlled like maybe half the Arabian Peninsula. And since then, it's continually gained more territory with the exception of losing some pieces of Europe, primarily Spain. More evil in the future. Got to get into Muhammad. Right on this one.
the future, you will find believers hiding their belief in Allah, the same way you see hypocrites now hiding between us.
Now, see, he's got a problem here. I don't really see anyone hiding their belief in Islam. I don't see anyone. I mean, I'm sure there's probably someone somewhere in the world who hides their belief in Islam. But what I see is Muslims who represent 2 or 3% of the population in European countries, maybe as much as 5 in some countries, praying very boldly and openly in public and complaining loudly that people don't allow them to pray in the middle of the street and shut down traffic, for example. I see lots of Muslims complaining about how they are abused. But if they're complaining that they're abused for being Muslims, they are definitely not hiding the fact that they are Muslims. Muhammad has failed. Mr. Joe Bitta, you are going into timeout for being off topic. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to come and show the truth of Islam. And all you want to do is argue that Christianity is evil. All you do when you come in like this is you tell me you don't have any arguments for the truth of Islam, which I agree, you don't. But if you don't, then stop believing in Islam. If you think Christianity is evil, don't convert to Christianity. I mean, you should, because Christianity is the truth, and that's the only real reason you're a Muslim is because you hate the truth. But you don't have to be a Muslim to hate Christianity. Atheists hate Christianity. Are they Muslims? No? So just, if all you got is I hate Christianity, or more accurately, I hate the lies that my imam told me and I pretend are Christianity, then you have no reason to be a Muslim. Hates our culture, hates our traditions, cries Islamophobia. Yeah, that's the point, right? Crying Islamophobia means you're boldly declaring you're a Muslim. Well, maybe boldly is not the right word. Loudly declaring you are a Muslim, at least. But the reality is, this prophecy, which supposedly has come true, is that people are hiding being Muslims.
At the time in the future, you will find real believers weak and humiliated.
Real believers in Islam are weak and humiliated, everyone. Let's see what Ali Dawah has to say about that.
People are coming to Islam because of its intolerance.
No, Ali Dawah, that's not true. People who are true Muslims are being humiliated and who are weak. Islam's not growing because it's bold and violent. It's because it's weak and pathetic, according to Muhammad's prophecy, which has definitely come true.
At the time in the future, ignorance and delusion will be extremely widespread.
You already said this one, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Thank you for emphasizing yet again that ignorance and deception are widespread, that Muhammad's prophecy has come true. We got the Dawah boys, we got ignorance and desperation and deception, widespread, absolutely true, no doubt about it. I cannot dispute this in any possible way.
This is the best advertisement for Islam that's ever existed in the world.
Truth will be blurred between the lies, and there will be tests like pieces of extremely dark night. A man will be
could someone translate what's a piece of an extremely dark night? I don't know what that means, but apparently that's what the tests are, is pieces of extremely dark nights. I mean, I know what a dark night is, but how can you divide a dark night into pieces? Help. I cannot figure this out.
a believer in the morning and a disbeliever in the evening. People will sell their religion for a little bit of worldly pleasures.
Hey! Another true prophecy of Muhammad. Another true prophecy of Muhammad. You got people like Ali Dawah, who is selling his religion for a small price. He gets, I don't know exactly how much, a few $100, maybe $1,000 to put an ad on his videos for some stupid, idiotic product, vitamins or whatever. I mean, some of them are Islamic, but some of them are just generic products like vitamins. This is the proof of Islam, that the Muslims will sell their religion for a very small price. Whoa. Proof, I tell you. He constantly teaches people to give him donations to teach converts how to pray. Indeed. Which reminds me, time for an ad from Jack Ray.
If you want your wealth to increase in this dunya, then give sadaqah more and more. Every single day, 2 angels come down. One of them is making dua for those who give. He says, Ya Allah, give those who give.
Give those who give, says Allah. Then thank you very much, Jack Ray. Professor Yaffle said happy birthday for some reason, and Protestant Believer said who ate the apple for some reason. So I thought I would get those up there as well.
That time in the future is called the time of patience. Anyone who sticks to his religion at that time will feel like holding to a burning piece of coal.
Hey, Muslims. Hey, Big Mahmood. Do you feel like you're holding to a burning piece of coal? Or do you feel like Islam gives you peace? Because if you don't feel like you're holding a burning piece of coal, Mr. Pink Jacket says you are not a true Muslim. Why did we get two strippers? Like, why did two people simultaneously trigger stripper? You guys like hijab that much? Houston says selling for a small price is not literal. It was an idiom that meant considered something of little value. Okay, fine. Fine, Houston. You're right, of course. It's an idiom. But Ali Dawah and company literally sell their religion for a small price. Why are you insulting Mahmoud? His next comment, why are you persecuting me? I no longer feel any peace or solace in Islam because you are persecuting me. I have a burning piece of coal in my hand. This is the proof of Islam. You should get a reaction bit of that one time Ali Dawah got graped in the mouth. I think you might be right. I might have to make that an animation. Where is Mary? She's in chat. Mary, too many Marys for one to be on the stream today. One second, please. Let me fix this. I really need to fix my code so I don't have to keep manually restarting it all the time. Lovely Mary, yes. I agree. Lovely Mary. But there's still too many of her.
But Allah will reward these people 50 times more than the reward that you get.
Hey, that one is true. All right. That one is definitely true. Allah will reward true believers 50 times more than unbelievers, which is weird to think about to begin with, because shouldn't he not be giving anything to unbelievers? But it's true, because he gives exactly 0 to unbelievers and he gives exactly 0 to true believers, and he gives exactly 0 to hypocrites. So 0 times 50 is indeed still 0. So it is, in fact, 50 times more. He will send you to level 50 of hell. Whoa. I like that new clip. Whoa! You get 50 times more hookers from Allah. That's not true. Well, I mean, it is true in the sense that everyone gets 0 in reality. But the believer gets at least 72. 72 is the minimum, according to a hadith, but still, that's a minimum. So you get at least 72 times if someone else gets 1, and if everyone else gets 0, then you are getting infinitely more. Your dude X says you get 50 more virgins from Allah, 20 males, 20 females, and 10 transgender. No comment. Professor Yaffle says the top 3 emojis are the goat eating the Quran, Muhammad's special friend, and me using a microscope to peer into the Quran for some tiny tidbit of truth. Do put your top 3 emojis in chat as well. And don't forget, we have a very important poll asking, is this the proof for Islam? Right now, I'm a medical doctor is winning.
They asked, O Prophet of Allah, do you mean 50 times the reward of normal men from their time? He said, no, I mean 50 times the reward that you get for what you are doing right now.
Oh, with that clarification, it's so much better. It's not 50 times the normal man, which is an unbeliever, it's 50 times the reward of Muhammad's followers, which is odd because Muhammad also said that the first 3 generations of Muslims are the best of all Muslims. So Allah, according to the logic here, right? According to the logic here, that Allah gives 50 times more reward to later Muslims, even though they are not the best of all Muslims. So what is the conclusion here? If Allah rewards those who are inferior Muslims greater than those who are lesser Muslims,
then the logical conclusion is that Allah was unjust.
That's what they call Dawah.
I really missed my brothers. They said, "Aren't we your brothers, O Prophet of Allah?" He said, "No, you are my friends. My brothers are the ones who will believe in me without seeing me."
Okay, I don't know why he's giving this. This is supposed to be one of the prophecies of the future, is that those who believe in Muhammad are his brothers if they never see him, and his friends if they do. I'm not sure how to test that, but apparently this is a true prophecy of Muhammad.
Do you want to hear something that you cannot imagine? At that time in the future, you will be huge in numbers, but very weak in power. But
Muslims will be huge in numbers, but very weak in power. It's amazing, amazing prophecy of Muhammad.
O Prophet of Allah, that cannot be. Military power is determined by the number of people. For example, an army of 10,000 is stronger than an army of 5,000. An army of 1 million men is absolutely stronger than an army of 500,000 men.
So that's not true. I mean, it's more true in the past, but it was never true. Alexander the Great's army was just a tiny, tiny fraction of the size of the Babylonian Empire, and yet, or Assyrian, whichever, Babylonian, I think, whichever one was Persian. It was called Persian Empire by that time. The Persian Empire, Alexander the Great's armies were vastly inferior in size. He routinely entered battles outnumbered like 5-1 and dominated and destroyed them. So this has never been true. It would not be something miraculous. And indeed, according to the Islamic sources, Muhammad's armies were usually smaller in size and victorious.
How come we will be huge in number, yet weak in power? That doesn't make any sense.
Apparently his men are
You can't
too
imagine
stupid.
that ever
So
born outside of marriage.
you want to, oops, I accidentally clicked somewhere else. But you want to see proof that the hadith doesn't come from the time of Muhammad? Here you go. 1, they're claiming they're huge in numbers when they're not during the time of Muhammad. 2, they've forgotten that they were supposedly victorious despite being less in number. And thus they're saying, how is that possible? Yeah, this hadith doesn't come from the time of Muhammad.
Future, you will find real believers weak and humiliated. 50 times more than the reward. Brothers are determined by numbers is just a fact of our time. In the future, the rules of power will change.
Except it wasn't a fact of Muhammad's time. It's just nonsense. And then he shows a Soviet nuclear missile or nuclear warhead. Newsflash, buddy. The United States is more powerful militarily speaking than all other countries in the world combined. Why are you showing Russia? Why are you not showing the United States in comparison to, say, China or India that have larger populations?
Things will happen that will make my huge ummah very weak.
Mary doesn't think this is a real hadith. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I don't know. Right? Possibility he just made stuff up. Possibility it's some weak hadith, but the hadith doesn't line up with the historical circumstance it was supposedly came from.
Also, at the time in the future, you will have diseases in your heart. You will start to love the pleasures of.
You will have diseases in your heart. He's repeating again that he keeps going back to these same few things over and over again. Has anyone else noticed that? But now he's calling out Saudi Arabia, Saudi's biggest musical festival,
of this life, and you will care less about the hereafter. Allah will remove the fear from the hearts of your enemies, and they will divide your territories the same way people.
This animation is hilarious. The enemies of Islam have conquered France and Great Britain.
Divide the shared dish before they start eating it. At the time in the future.
Why did it stop there? Oh, that's so sad. He could have just made the animation keep going. Because that's obviously not the current world. Great Britain doesn't currently control India. No, currently France doesn't currently control West Africa.
My friends.
So why don't you just keep going and show all of the Middle East
numbers
being taken
is just
over
a fact
by
of our time. In the future,
European powers.
The rules of power will change. Your enemies, and they will divide your territory.
And by the way, the reason that they were able to conquer the Muslims wasn't because they. Well, I mean, they might have also had. They certainly probably had superior weapons, but they probably had superior numbers too. So this doesn't even work. And India was like never really conquered by Muslims. Parts of it were to a degree, but not really.
Territories, the same.
And Southeast Asia was never conquered by Muslims and is majority Muslim today. So this doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Way people divide the shared dish before they start eating it. At the time in the future, a lot of Muslims will be just copies of Christians and Jews in their lifestyle.
Muslims will be copies of Jews and Christians in their lifestyle. Oh, you mean like how Muhammad tried to copy Jews and Christians from the start? Great prophecy.
They will copy everything that they're doing, good and bad, even if they enter into.
What the heck? What the heck is this? Are these like Muslims doing Halloween or something? Because, you know, he said they're copying Christian and Jewish lifestyles. Guys, don't we always just like walk around with Halloween makeup, zombie makeup all over our faces? Halloween. This is his proof that Muslims are copying Jews and Christian lifestyle, is because he found someone who put on zombie makeup. Now, hey, maybe these aren't Muslims at all. Maybe these are Christians dressed up as the scariest thing imaginable. Not just a zombie, but a Muslim zombie.
To a hole of a lizard, you will enter with them. At the time in the future, you will have deceiving imams. People who are pretending to be imams while deceiving Muslims.
Again, he's repeating himself, but I agree. This has definitely come true. You have people deceiving imams
Into doing sin, believing it's a good thing. Maybe you will find fake imams who will tell you that you should ignore hadith. Or you will find fake
imams who will tell you to ignore hadith. You mean like every YouTube commenter?
imams who will tell you that women should lead in prayers. Or
oh, how dare they? How dare they say that women are allowed to lead in prayers?
Even fake imams who are supporting sodomy, or fake imams who are claiming that bank interest and music are halal. Or fake imams who are saying we should do takfir on everybody and divide our ummah at every opportunity we find. Or fake imams.
Wait, saying we should or shouldn't?
Music are halal. Or fake imams who are saying we should do takfir on every.
Okay, so get this straight, right? See if you see a problem. This guy says there are lots of fake imams. There are lots of fake Muslims. They do stuff that is wrong. And then he says one of the things they do that's wrong is call out other Muslims for doing wrong things and saying they're not real Muslims. Anyone see the problem here? You know, anyone see a small problem?
This is Islam.
Because, I mean, I don't see any holes in this logic. It seems...
And it's as clear as the sun.
Yeah, very, very clear. Very, very clear. Anyone who calls out other Muslims as being fake Muslims is a fake Muslim. Pink Jacket calls out other Muslims as being fake Muslims. Therefore, Pink Jacket is a fake Muslim.
Everybody and divide our ummah at every opportunity we find. Or fake imams who are saying we should honor our nationality more than we honor our brotherhood as Muslims. Who knows what will happen? At the time,
who knows what will happen? Muhammad knows what will happen. Why don't you just read the Hadith? Why don't you just read the Hadith and his prophecies about the future? Oh, right. You can only find prophecies after the fact. You know, where was 100 years ago the Muslims writing in their books saying, here's how you'll know that Muhammad is a prophet when all these things come true 100 years from now? Didn't exist. And this guy doesn't give us anything in the future, right? He doesn't give us anything that hasn't come true yet because they never find these prophecies until after the fact. Pink Jacket Puba. You need to get that image. Which one? Please specify, Professor Yaffle.
Time in the future, you will find young Muslims doing sin in groups, not hiding while sinning. If you look,
you'll find young Muslims doing sin in groups, like when a group of them gather together and gang rape young girls. Young boys, because the girls are usually well protected. Oh, wait, that has existed throughout Islamic history. Oh, dang. How do we trigger the dog animation? You just did. You just have to type in the word dog. That's D-O-G, dog.
I want to have sex with you, dog. How?
Look at any of their faces, you can't see any signs of the fear of Allah. At that time in the future, you will be divided into a lot of sects. The same way the people of the book got divided. All of these sects are destined to hellfire, except one.
You'll get divided into lots of sects. Everyone says that, every Muslim says Christianity is false because it's divided into sects, but he correctly says that Islam will be divided into a lot of sects. Not to be confused with a lot of sex, which is totally different.
Seriously, I want to have sex with you, dog. How?
Just answering your question, Nina.
One. The one that sticks to our beliefs and teachings without changing anything. At the time in the future, there will be a group of people who claim to be Muslims, but they reject all of my teachings and rulings. A man from them will be sitting on his couch, not making any effort or research, saying, I don't care what the Prophet said, I only take my teachings from the Quran alone.
Did he just describe Muslim YouTubers? Just guys sitting on their couch saying, I don't care what the texts say. I just take, he said from the Quran alone, but you know, really, I just take my own thoughts as scripture.
Imagine, at that time in the future, the children of Israel will be gaining power again, and they will corrupt in the land again, as they did before, and they will fight you.
So the prophecy, the proof of Islam is that the children of Israel will make corruption in the land. Quran only fans.
But in the end, you will triumph over them.
Wait a minute, you'll triumph over them? I thought that Islam was going to collapse into nothing. You mean Muhammad made contradictory prophecies? he says that in the last days, the Jews will try to hide, but they'll hide behind the trees, and the trees will rat them out and say, "Oh, Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Come and kill him." But also, Islam will shrink down into it's nothing and thus not have the power to kill the Jews. Contradictory prophecies have both come true, according to Mr. Pink Jacket. Peace be upon him.
After that time in the future passes, the Antichrist will appear, the Dajjal, and also the Mahdi, and also Jesus, the son of Mary. When the Dajjal tries to enter Medina, he will find
the zombie Muslim image. You're right. I will go back and capture that. I'll figure out something to do with it. It was just a still, so I'm not certain what I'll do with it, but I'll try. Maybe I can put it in like an image search and try to find where it came from. It's probably a news story. It probably is just a still. Anyway, I'll try to find it. If not, I can take it from the video. Because, yeah, you're right. For sure. That is a good image.
My small, humble mosque turned into a big white palace. He will look at it from far away and say, "See this big white palace? This is..."
See this big white palace? It resembles my big white prophet. You could see him for miles. He was so white.
The palace of Muhammad. Then Jesus will defeat the Dajjal, break the cross, and kill the pig and end jizya. One last.
So that's interesting, right? I mean, he's not wrong about what Islamic doctrine teaches. But Jesus breaks the cross, which is supposedly evil, according to Muslims. He kills the pig, which is supposedly evil, according to Muslims, and ends the jizya. What's the logical conclusion? That jizya is evil. Thanks for admitting your own system is evil.
Last thing. The Quran that you have right now will remain uncorrupted, unchanged, untouched until the day of judgment.
Oh, another failed prophecy. The Quran you have now will remain uncorrupted, untouched, unchanged. And yet we have numerous Sahih narrations that say large portions of the Quran were lost, were changed, were corrupted. And was it the day of judgment? No, it was not. Then we have the manuscripts, which show that the Quran has been changed, corrupted, and lost. Is that the day of judgment? No, of course not. What Muhammad really meant is that in 1924, a group of scholars in Egypt will piece together the true Quran, and Allah will spread it throughout the Ummah, such that Muslims think that there is only one Quran. Until the day of judgment, when they realize there are actually dozens, if not hundreds, of different Arabic Qurans. White Palace is made up. I mean, possibly. But it is consistent that the whitest prophet would have the whitest palace. I'm just saying.
No matter how hard your enemies try, no matter how weak you become, it will never, ever be corrupted. Not even one verse of it.
Not even one verse of it. And yet, the companions from the first 3 generations of Islam, the best of all Muslims, said, "Let no one declare that he has memorized all of the Quran. Instead, let him say, I have memorized what we have of the Quran," because large portions of the Quran were lost for various different reasons. People hardened their heart and forgot the Quran. People were sent into battle as the only memorizer of a particular verse, because the logic was Allah would never let them be destroyed and they would be victorious, since they were the only ones that had the verse. Even goats abrogated, ate, destroyed, corrupted portions of the Quran. But not one verse has been lost, except all the verses that have been lost, which weren't really lost because they were abrogated. In other words, it's impossible for you to lose a verse, because if you lost all of the Quran, it would just mean all the Quran was abrogated. This is the proof of Islam, everyone.
Here are the references for all that I have said so far.
Oh
You
my
can
gosh, he gave
find
the
all
references.
of these in Quran, in Al-Bukhari, Muslims, Sahih al-Tirmizi, and others. The majority of them are straight Sahih, and some are narrated from enough sources to be trusted. You can pause the video to read them.
Hey, put all the sources there. I mean, he didn't. I can't read Arabic, but it doesn't look like the references are actually there, just the verses.
Will be corrupted. Not even one verse of it. Here are.
I guess this could be the reference and this the hadith, but I suspect not. Anyway, he gave the references, guys. He gave the references after all to his English speaking audience watching this English video. He gave Arabic references. I take it back. He didn't hide them from us. I don't think I can handle much more proof. Well, you don't have to, because that is the end of the video. I was intending on watching more than one. This one took quite a long time to work through, so we did only get through the one. We just lost our cat. And I'll be going live on your brother in Christ here momentarily. He may already be live. I'm not sure. I told him it was okay if he started it before I came over. I'm going to go to the bathroom and then I'll jump on that stream. It's an open call-in show for any Muslim to bring proof that Islam is the true religion, or that Muhammad is a true prophet. Let me get that straight. I will put the link in the chat. You'll also be redirected over there when I conclude this one. In the end, all we saw is a bunch of nonsense arguments, some distorted sources, a few things that were technically true, but very easy to predict, and many, many, many times stated over and over again how the proof of Islam is that Islam has become corrupted, that Islam has become weak, that no one believes in true Islam anymore. Therefore, Muhammad is a true prophet. That's the takeaway I got, because he kept saying that part over and over again. He went back to it. 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 I can hear a cat meowing. You sure can. The cat just came downstairs and started meowing. I don't know why. Mary says she'll jump in that live stream as well. And all I can say is that this is the proof. We have proven Islam today, everyone. This is 100% absolute proof that Islam is the truth, because Islam is not believed by anyone, including Mr. Pink Jacket, by following the logic of him saying false Muslims to call other Muslims false, while he himself is calling other Muslims false.
You see, this is the proof. This is the proof.
It's the proof, everyone. It's the absolute proof. Alhamdulillah. I bet you have all converted to Islam. Head over to your local mosque right now and say your Shahada. But if you're not convinced yet, then stay on here. Visit the link that I posted in chat a little while ago, and I'm posting in chat again. I'll be over there in like 5 minutes after I take a bathroom break. Until we meet again, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope to see you over on Eric's live stream. Till we meet again, let's close out with the words of Pastor Jake.
Pray this ceaselessly. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me.